Under the village of West Wycombe lies a system of caves with numerous secrets hidden within its walls. And although people believe the cave to be nothing more than the remnants of the meeting place of the once popular Hellfire Club, many people believe that there is much more to the story than meets the eye. It is believed that the caves below the town of West Wycombe weren't just innocent meeting quarters, but sites of satanic rituals and pagan practices conducted and carried out by the Hellfire Club. But how much truth is there to these suspicions, and have these sites ever been used for such nefarious purposes? Let's find out together. You might be thinking that caves have never not been used for nefarious purposes, and thinking otherwise would be foolish. But there's a reason why we bring this question to the table. It's because the caves of the Hellfire Club were actually carved out by hand and are not natural formations. But before we understand the history of the caves and how they came about, we have to understand the history of the club that carved the caves out. The Hellfire. Hearing the name itself, most people would get unsettled, as it's a name that is not just out of the norm but blatantly affiliated with the likes of demonic imagery and iconography. But it would surprise you to know that the Hellfire Club was actually never started with such a title in mind. The original title of the club was Knights of St. Francis of Wycombe. It is this name, through much practice and social perception, that would end up becoming what we know of today as the Hellfire Club. The club was founded by Sir Francis Dashwood, an English politician from the 18th century who served as the Chancellor of the Exchequer. The club, at the height of its popularity, had many famous celebrities and politicians as members of the club. Even Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States of America, was a frequent visitor of the club. Before the Wycombe Combs came about, the club used the Medmenham Abbey, which was nearly 13 kilometers away from what we know today as the Hellfire Club Caves. But it is the story of how the caves came to be that's most interesting. The story of the Wycombe Caves begins in the 18th century with the quarry that once stood a little afar from the town of Wycombe. This quarry was an attempt by Dashwood, who was the Chancellor of the Exchequer and second Baronet at the time, to reduce rural unemployment. The chalk and limestone quarry was soon commissioned to build a new route to the town of Wycombe, whose traditional route was fraught with ditches, pits, and many other elements that made travel difficult. Even after the completion of the road, Dashwood convinced Parliament to keep the quarry alive. But here's where things take a turn for the weirder. A logical person would just expand the quarry to ensure that employment was available for the townspeople, but Dashwood did it in the most peculiar manner. He commissioned the quarry to dig tunnels into the mountain. This would have made sense in a traditional mine, but what we are talking about is an open-cast quarry which should have been expanded out. Many people believe that Dashwood's eccentric decision to mine into the mountain was inspired by a sense of fun, symbolism, or rivalry with other wealthy landowners. It's important to understand that at the time, the way in which people flexed on one another was by decking up their houses, so it's theorized that Dashwood, who had a bitter rivalry with Lord Temple, who lived at Stowe, decided to one-up him by creating a complex set of caves, as artificial caves were all the hype at the time. It's also hypothesized that his inspiration for the same came from the Eleusinian mysteries of Greece. These mysteries are related, of course, to the stories of Persephone and Demeter, the wife and mother-in-law of Hades, the god of the underworld in Greek mythology. Dashwood also created a smaller system of caves near Marlow for his Italian artist Giuseppe Borgnes, who was in charge of designing the caves. The Knights of St. Francis of Wycombe wasn't established on any particular day. Rather, it was actually the successor of previous societies established by Dashwood, like the Dilettanti Society, which encouraged interest in classical art, and the Divan Club, which encouraged interest in the Ottoman Empire. It is believed that Dashwood developed a severe distaste towards the Roman Catholic Church during his visits to Italy and grew more radicalized. He believed that the population and those with the means to do so must break away from the norms laid down by the Church and, as such, founded the Knights of St. Francis Club, whose motto was Fais ce que tu voudras, which meant do as thou wilt. But this is where the mystery and the intrigue surrounding the club started. many people began reporting that within the confines of the club, their practices started to shift over from that of intellectual to that of pagan and idolatrous. One member, Horatio Walpole, reported that the practice within the club was rigorously pagan. They did not shy away from this either. It is known that they publicly made offerings and sacrifices to deities like Bacchus and Venus. The club never really got the name the Hellfire Club till much later, but it was known by many other names during its operation, like the Brotherhood of St. Francis of Wycombe and the Order of Knights of West Wycombe. Horatio goes on further and states that members of the club dressed up in elaborate clothes and performed the rituals of the Catholic Church, albeit in a manner that mocked the entire faith. Along with these rituals they performed, the members would also engage in drinking and drug-induced orgies. Many say that Walpole's statement comes from a place of envy and a desire to tear down the club, as he was also in competition with Dashwood, but the fact that he was a member of the club gives his statements more validity than any other person's claim. The Hellfire Club would soon gain notoriety not just in the country alone, but across the globe, as several of the most richest and most powerful people began coming into the fold of the club. The thing that drew these rich people like moths to a flame was the life that Dashwood had portrayed while living in his kingdom of debauchery. He was a man of opulence, hedonism, and satire in a world that was becoming increasingly religious, legalistic, and motivated by morals more than ideals. It is this no-holds-barred party lifestyle that drew the rich in. And when they got together, their wildest fantasies would take over, and they would engage in whatever behavior they considered to be right. Many people also state that the caves of the Hellfire Club are haunted up to the neck with the ghosts of those who died here either by sacrifice or any other mysterious circumstances. One ghost that is said to haunt the corridors of the Hellfire Caves is the ghost of Paul Whitehead, a political writer, secretary of the Hellfire Club, and a friend of Dashwood. He, in his will, had stated that he wanted to give his heart upon his death to the club as a final tribute and gift to the club that he once presided over. But why would he haunt the Hellfire Caves, you ask? Well, it boils down to the fact that his heart, which was placed in an urn in the mausoleum attached to the caves, was stolen when it was on display and has been missing ever since. It's been said that he has been wandering the caves in search of his heart and scares anyone who tries to disturb the caves. It's hard to know for sure whether the Hellfire Club was truly a place of satanic worship or whether dark forces invaded the place, although the intention of the members was theatric alone. Nonetheless, these caves remain as a staunch reminder that there is more than what meets the eye when it comes to people. Although it's a place that tourists visit with impunity now, who knows what actually went down in the caves of the Hellfire Club?